This is the lesson for Math 8, 6-3 to 6-6. This is our in-class review. You have to know how to do reflections, rotations, translations, dilations in order to do 6-7. All right. In 6-7, we're going to be doing combinations of different things where we do two things. But if you don't know how to do the one thing, you're not going to know how to do 6-7. All right. So it's very important that we know how to do this. That's why we're spending another day practicing these skills. So the first thing that we're going to look at again are translations. All right. Translation slides a picture. Remember that the S and L in translation stands for slide. You're sliding from one picture to the next. You're not changing its shape. You're not changing its size. We're just sliding it from one to the next. Remember that you always go from the letter to the same letter prime. So from A to A prime, or from B to B prime, or from C to C prime. So you always go from the letter without the apostrophe to the letter with the apostrophe. This little apostrophe is pronounced as prime. So we're going from this shape to this shape. How do we go? How many places do we move left or right? How many places do we move up or down? So I'm going to look at from A to A prime. I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places to the right. So I'm going right 6. And then from here, now I'm going 1, 2, 3 places down. So down 3. So it's a translation of right 6, down 3. If we looked at B or C, it would be the same exact thing. If I start at B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the right, 1, 2, 3 down. If I looked at C, I'd start here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3 down. So it doesn't matter which one you look at, but you have to go from the letter to the same letter prime. If we take a look at question number 2, be careful. This time you're going from the right to the left. Remember, we always go from the letter to the same letter prime. So to get from A to A prime, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4 places to the left. So I'm going left 4, and then I'm just going up 1. Again, I could choose B to B prime, C to C prime. They're all the same, but we have to go from the letter to the same letter prime. That's what the picture is drawn for you already. Sometimes you're going to be asked to do another translation, so we're sliding it. But this time they give you the first picture. You have to follow the rule. So the rule is left 4, down 1. And then we have to draw the new picture and write down the coordinates. Remember, when we write down coordinates, your first number is how many you go over. Your second number is how many you go up or down. So we have to start with A. And we have to go left 4, down 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left, and then down 1. This is our new A prime. Starting at B, 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left, 1 down. This is our new B prime. Starting at C, 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left, 1 down. This is our new C prime. I think it's helpful to label them right away. You do have to label them, and then connect your dots so that we have our triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. You do have to label the new image with primes. Then we want to write down the coordinates. When we write down coordinates, remember we start counting coordinates from right there, that green dot right in the middle where the X and Y axis cross. A prime over 1, 2, 3, 4 over to -4. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, up to +4. So it's -4, -4, comma, +4. As we're going over to -4 and then up to +4. B prime over to -4, and then we're not going up or down at all. So it's over to -4, up 0. And then C prime over to -2, up to 0. So we drew our new picture, we labeled it with primes, and we wrote down the coordinates. If you take a look at question number 4, this time we're going the opposite way. We're going right 3 and up 4. So starting with D, we're going right 3, 1, 2, 3, up 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is our new D prime. Starting at E, 1, 2, 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4 going up. So this is our new E prime. And then F, 1, 2, 3 to the right. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 going up. This is our new F prime. Connect your dots and to form your triangle. Now we're ready to do our coordinates. When we do our coordinates, we always start right there in the middle. We go to get to D prime, we go over 0 up to 3. E prime over to 2 up to 3. And F prime over to 2 up to 0. Remember, when you do translations, if you take a look at all 4 of these shapes, notice that they are the same size, same shape. They're just slid left to right and up and down, but same size, same shape. The next thing that we get into are dilations. For a dilation, you have to multiply by the scale factor. Whatever this scale factor is, you have to multiply. I think it's very helpful underneath the coordinates to write your blank coordinates. These are going to be our new coordinates. If it says a scale factor of 3, that means we are going to multiply each one of those numbers by 3. Let's graph the original triangle first. So starting in the middle, right? Starting right there, we're going over to 2 up to 1, over 0 up to 1, over 0 down to -2. Here's our original triangle. Now that we have our original triangle, I want to multiply all 6 of these numbers by 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. 0 times 3 is 0. 1 times 3 is 3. 0 times 3 is 0. -2 times 3 is -6. Those are my new coordinates. So when you go to do these, over to 6, up to 3, over 0, up to 3, over 0, down to -6. Here's my new triangle. Same shape, just a different size. How much bigger is it? Well, we multiplied everything by 3, so it is 3 times bigger than the original one. When I take a look at my picture, I can see that in our original picture, the top was 2 units long. Now it's 6 units long. It's 3 times bigger. It was 3 units going up and down. Now it's 9 units going up and down. So it's 3 times bigger. Don't worry about the labels on this one with A prime, B prime, and C prime. They didn't give you any letters. Sometimes they don't, so you don't have to letter it. In this one, we also have another scale factor of 3. That means we are going to be multiplying everything by 3. Let's draw our original triangle first. -2, 0, -2, -2, and 1, 0, over to 1, up to 0. So here's our original triangle. Now what we're going to do is multiply everything by 3. So I'm going to write in my new coordinates right underneath the old ones. So -2 times 3 is -6. 0 times 3 is 0. -2 times 3 is -6. -2 times 3 is -6. 1 times 3 is 3. 0 times 3 is 0. So over to -6, up to 0. Over to -6, down to -6. And over to 3, up to 0. Here's my new triangle. Notice that it is the same shape, just bigger. How much bigger? It's 3 times bigger because we multiplied by 3. Notice that the height of the triangle was 2. Now the height is 6. The length of the triangle was 3. Now the length of the triangle is 9. So we multiplied everything by 3. But a dilation makes it bigger or smaller. When would it get smaller? If we were multiplying everything by 1/2, for example, if the scale factor was 1/2, then everything would be half the size of the original. All right. So everything would be cut in two. All right. It would be smaller than the original. Anytime that you're multiplying by a fraction like that, like 1/2 or 1/3, it's smaller. But we are multiplying by 3. That's why it got bigger. Next thing that we're going to do are some reflections. Remember that a reflection is a mirror opposite image. You're counting how many places to the line and then counting that same number of places away from the line. I think it's very, very helpful when it tells you do a reflection over the x-axis. Make that x-axis darker so that it stands out, so that you know what the line is that you're counting to and counting from. The most common mistake that people make is doing it over the wrong axis. So when I start at A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places to the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places away from the line. Label it right away with your primes. That is A prime. B is 1, 2 places to the line, 1, 2 places away from the line. This is B prime. C is 1, 2 places to it, 1, 2 places away from it. That is C prime. Notice that you have that flipped opposite mirror image. Same size, same shape. It's just a flipped opposite mirror image. We could fold it. We could fold our paper right along this line, and those two shapes would match up perfectly. You do have to write down the coordinates. Remember, with your coordinates, your first number is how many we go over. Second number is how many we go up or down. And remember that we always start counting from right where the two axes cross. So where is A prime? Starting in the middle, over to 1, down to -5. B prime, over to 1, down to -2. And C prime, over to 5, down to -2. So we drew our new shape, we labeled it with primes, and we wrote down the coordinates. In question number 8, this time we're doing it over the y-axis. Again, my suggestion, make that line darker, make that line stand out, because that's what you're counting to and counting from. D is 1, 2, 3 places to the line, 1, 2, 3 places away from the line. E is 1, 2 places to the line, 1, 2 places away from the line is E prime. F is 1, 2, 3, 4 places to the line, 1, 2, 3, 4 places away from the line is F prime. Again, when you connect your dots, notice that you have that same size, same shape. It's just the flipped opposite mirror image. When you go to do your points, when you go to do your coordinates, you're starting counting from right in the middle. D prime, over to -3, up to +5. E prime, over to -2, up to +1. And F prime, over to -4, up to +1. So those were over the x-axis and over the y-axis. Sometimes you're going to have them over random lines, a random horizontal line in this case. The next one's going to be over a random vertical line. So you're still doing the same thing. You're counting how many places to the line and then counting that same number of places away from the line. G is 1 place to it. G prime is 1 place away from it. H is 1, 2, 3 places to it. 1, 2, 3 places away from it is H prime. I is 1, 2, 3 places to it. 1, 2, 3 places away from it is I prime. Connect your dots. Again, you have that flipped opposite mirror image. You should be able to fold the paper right in half along that line and it match up perfectly. When you're doing your points, you start from the green point right in the middle. G prime is over to 1, down to -1. H prime is over to 1, up to 1. I prime is over to 5, up to 1. So that was over a random horizontal line. Going over a random vertical line, doing the same thing. J is 1, 2 places to the line, 1, 2 places away from it. That's J prime. K is 1, 2 places to the line, 1, 2 places away from the line. That is K prime. L prime is a little bit weird. L is right on the line, so it's 0 places to the line. So that means it's 0 places away from the line. It just stays right where it was. If it's on the line, it stays on the line. So when we draw our picture, notice that if we fold it over the line, those two triangles match up perfectly again. Going to do our coordinates. J prime is over to 4, up to 5. K prime is over to 4, up to 1. And L prime is over to 2, up to 1. So those were reflections. Remember, reflections are those mirror opposite images. The last one is a rotation. Now, in a rotation, you have to be very, very, very careful, all right? Clockwise turns around like the hands of a clock. So it's going to go around the circle like this. Counterclockwise is backwards clock. It's going to turn around like that. So we have to be very, very careful with those. When we take a look at clockwise, all right, first thing that you want to do, you need to remember that positive numbers always go up and to the right. Negative numbers always go down and to the left. When we turn our paper, those numbers are going to be wrong. We're going to turn our paper 90 degrees clockwise. So going around like the hands of a clock. 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and we stop like that. So when we stop like that, and take a look at our new coordinates, this is for, and I'm just going to write them down here to the side. This is for A prime, B prime, and C prime. These are your 90 degrees clockwise. When I take a look at these, I can see that A looks like it's over to 5 and down to 4. But negative numbers go down. Positive numbers do not go down. So it's still over to 5. That's fine. But anytime we go down, down is really negative. So it's over to 5, down to -4. B prime, over to 1. It looks like down to 4. It's not down to 4, though. It's down to -4. Because anytime we go down, down is really negative. And then C looks like it's at 1, 1. It's not at 1, 1. You're going over to 1, but then down to -1. So that was for a 90 degrees clockwise rotation. For 90 degrees for 180 degrees. All right, I need to turn my paper again. This is a little bit hard on the board sometimes. I need to turn my paper completely upside down for 180. All right, so for 180, I'm going to switch colors here. I'm going to switch to purple. So now we have A double prime, B double prime, and C double prime. I think it's a good idea to find all the points first, then go back and graph them. So when you turn it upside down, every single number is wrong because positive numbers always go up and to the right. Negative numbers always go down and to the left. So when you take a look at where A is, A looks like we go over to 4 and down to 5, but it's not. Anytime you go over to the left is really negative. So that's really over to -4. Anytime you go down, that's negative. So that's really -5. So A double prime is over to -4, down to -5. B looks like it's over to 4 and down to 1. But it's not down to 1 and it's not over to 4. It's over to -4 because it's to the left and down to -1 because it's going down. C double prime, -1, -1, over to -1 because that's to the left, down to -1 because it's going down. Our last one is a 90 degrees counterclockwise rotation. If I turn my paper back to normal here, counterclockwise is backwards clock. Backwards clock goes around like that. All right. So when I take a look at these, and I'm going to switch to orange here, I'm figuring out A triple prime, B triple prime, and C triple prime. This is for 90 degrees counterclockwise. So again, when we take a look at the dots, A looks like it's over to 5 up to 4. It's not over to 5 up to 4. Anytime you go over to the left is negative. So over to -5 up to +4. B triple prime over looks like to 1 and up to 4. It's not 1, 4. It's over to -1 because that's to the left, and then up to +4. C triple prime over to -1 up to +1. It looked like it was over to +1, but it's not. Anytime you go over to the left is really negative. So now that I have my points, I'm going to turn my paper back to normal. And I'm going to graph these. Lost my little picture here. Counter or clockwise goes around like the hands of a clock. So 90 degrees clockwise, that is 5 -4. It is 1 -4, and it's 1 -1. So when we go to graph these, remember we always start counting from right there in the middle. So 5 -4 over to 5 down to -4, that is A prime. 1 -4 over to 1 down to -4, that's B prime. And 1 -1, that is C prime. Connect the dots, and we get that shape. Notice that it turned 1 quadrant. Anytime it moves 1 quadrant, it has to be 90 degrees. And then you just have to look. Notice that it went around this way. So it's going around like the hands of a clock. So that is going to be clockwise. For 180, we have -4, -5, -4, -1, and we have -1, -1. So -4 over to -4 down to -5, that's A double prime. -4, -1, that's B double prime. -1, -1, that's C double prime. Notice that it turned 2 quadrants. Whenever it turns 2 quadrants, that has to be a 180-degree rotation. The last one here in the orange is going to be 90 degrees counterclockwise. So I have -5, 4. I have -1, 4. And I have -1, 1. Over to -5, up to +4. That's A triple prime. B triple prime, -1, 4. That's B triple prime. And -1, 1. That is C triple prime. Connect the dots. There's your new picture. Notice that we went from the original picture, we went 1 quadrant. This time we went backwards clock. If we go 1 quadrant, again, it has to be 90 degrees, but we went backwards. So that's how I know that it's counterclockwise. This is a slide that helps a lot of kids out. Remember, a translation is a slide. You're sliding the picture left or right, up or down. A dilation makes it bigger or smaller. A reflection is that flipped opposite mirror image. We could flip side to side, but we could also flip up and down. And then a rotation turns the picture.